Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. If you guys need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. We've got a discount going on, discount in the coupon code, and join us and our community there. So let's dive in. I'll give you my financial opinions around the markets right now, what I'm seeing out there, and we can dive into it. So here we go. The first thing we're going to start with is the DXY. To me, it looks like we're breaking to the upside. So we've been bouncing on this long-term white support level that we've been bouncing off all these years. We broke up above it, came back down, and we've been bouncing on that support. Generally, when you're on top of a support, it likes to go higher for some period of time. So I think that this is a retest and we could go higher. And we're breaking this in the short term to the upside for the DXY. So that looks like it wants to go higher. The 10-year yield also going up dramatically higher today, up 3.5%. That's actually a big move for yields. And it looks very bullish on the 30-year yield. So we'll go there next, but we're up 3.5 on the 10-year. We're up 3.8, breaking out of this consolidation to the upside. That is huge, guys. Big deal, because yields are moving on up. And remember, yields price assets. And with yields breaking out like this, we could see a run of yields and the dollar, the DXY, because that is also looking strong, where we could break to the upside for a period of time. And this is going to put pressure on the overall stock markets if yields continue to increase. So we're getting a clear signal here that it's starting to break to the upside. Let's see if this momentum is going to continue or if it's going to come back rapidly back inside the pattern. So that's something to watch for. TYX TNX ratio up a little bit today, up 0.32%. Again, generally speaking, when this breaks to the upside and starts to move higher, that is generally a tailwind for precious metals. Obviously, it's not a tailwind today. We've got an increasing dollar and increasing yields. It's usually a tailwind when that ratio goes up and yields fall. Right now, yields are going higher, and that looks to continue to be the case. Looking at TLT, we're also seeing this thing dive down today. Big sell-off, down 3.13% for bond prices. And if yields continue higher, I expect bond prices to go lower. And all those people who think that the old playbook of recession, lower interest rates, and all that stuff is going to work, it may not work. We might be in a new paradigm where interest rates move higher because people are actually afraid of Americans' debt. And then we've got the supply and demand of the debt that they need to throw out in the world. It's a lot of debt. So we can throw a trend line in here. And I think if we break down below this guy, it could get interesting. And you could also argue that you could take this guy, put it up here. You could put something like that. And we'll see if we break to the downside there. The 2-year yield's also shooting higher here. Now, are we going to get up to this level in here, or is it going to be down here? I don't know. No one knows that type of answer there. How high are yields going to go, and when are they going to crash? Or if they even are going to crash. We don't know that. If they crash, that definitely means that there's something going on in the markets and people are running into bonds. If they don't crash and they run up and it breaks out of this and makes a new high, it surpasses this here and breaks up above that. And I'm not calling for that. I'm not calling for that. But if it does, then we're in an uptrend and we are moving higher in rates. So remember, this all prices assets and it prices it differently. A crash lower is going to drag the entire markets lower, I think. I also think that if this were to go uncontrolled to the upside, that's also going to drag certain portions of the markets lower, like stocks, bonds, and those things. Well, bonds, obviously, because yields are going up, they're selling bonds. Yields are going up because bonds are selling off. But the stock market's not going to like that either. So when we look at the pricing of assets, we've got the CRB index moving sideways, slightly lower, down 0.7%. But for the most part, it's just moving sideways. So that's holding on. And it's being very resilient in this pullback for commodities. The CRB to S&P 500 is also just moving sideways today, up 0.04. It's right on support. We got this. I drew this in here. We'll see if we get a little move like that or like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is a ratio as well. Gold's down. It does not like a stronger dollar and stronger yields, but it is holding in there. It is, for the most part, gigantic buying pressure coming up, and we are just holding. Even if it comes back down here, that's okay. We're not seeing a strong sell-off in gold, which is a good thing if you're bullish gold. Silver, I know it ran up today, and I know a lot of people are getting probably pretty bullish on silver, getting pretty excited. Yeah, I did too for a little bit. Big bullish move higher, and then the selling pressure is really slow here. So I do think that we are still destined to move on higher to the right side and up. So I still think everything looks good. Nothing's broken there yet. Platinum getting a little bit more selling pressure. Big picture view, we could be doing a little bit of a bloody nose retest move before moving higher. And again, I don't care where this thing goes in the short term. I am bullish long term, and I've been accumulating generally in this area here for that bull move going higher. Long time frame. Me likey long time frame. XAU to gold ratio still haven't broken out of this thing, guys. It's going to take some time, but we do have increasing lows coming up into it. Basically a sideways day today. Nothing really to report. Everything still looks good for that to move higher for the ratio. GDX down 0.5%, which is basically what gold did. This could head a little bit lower. We're getting these bearish engulfing patterns in a row. Kind of interesting how this is battling back and forth in GDX here. And then SILJ also down a little bit. Nothing too worrying. The only thing I'd say that's a little worrying is that we had a lot of buying pressure come in, and this thing just got smoked to the downside. I mean, it reversed quite hard. So we could see some momentum tomorrow with some selling pressure. And we'll see if that reverses. It's just a lot of volatility here in the short term. But it still is sitting on top of the pattern, so we'll see what happens. Crude oil down 1.4%. I think this looks fine. There's nothing wrong here. We've come on back. We've done a retest. We've got a bullish, somewhat of a bullish candlestick today. We call that the hammer. We grab the little wick at the bottom, and it's a hammer. That is generally a move higher for the short term. Natural gas also getting a little bit of selling pressure here, down 4%. We could see a little bit more downside in the short term. Overall, guys, I think it's going to take some time to base out in natural gas. XOP, yeah, you know me. It doesn't look bad, guys. We're still sitting here. You could consider that a bloody nose. It's down 0.7%. We've got our base here. This is where our jump came from, were these two candlesticks. Bullish engulfing, bullish piercing led us up. We hit our head on this resistance line right there. We pulled on back. If we can hold here, that's a higher low, and hopefully we can break out and do some partying, So XOP, it doesn't look bad. Doesn't look great, but it doesn't look bad, and we'll see what happens over the next, this next week. OIH also just doing the same thing as XOP for the most part. This was our base, and hopefully we can hold here with a higher low and start working our way higher. That's not what I'm predicting. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying hopefully that's what happens. We very well could go lower if the overall markets go lower. Sprout Physical Uranium Trust basically doing a retest, and we'll see if this holds or not. I do like the momentum here. That looks really good, and we've got a little bit of selling pressure, but still looks good because we've got one up day and two smaller down days coming back. That's generally a bullish sign to move higher. So we'll see what happens. Uranium also getting, URNM, I should say, getting a little bit more selling pressure, 2.5%. Again, we've just been moving sideways here for the most part, trying to break out of this big thing. What I do like to see is small candlesticks coming down. I don't want to see big selling pressure. I want to see very small buyers equaling the sellers at the tip of a trading pattern where we could launch in one direction or the other. I think it's going to go higher, but I'm biased. All right. TAN hanging out right on its support, kind of towards the low end, and we'll see where this thing goes. Looking at COPX, up a little bit today. This is the copper ETF. Again, we're sitting on top of support. And yes, this could come down, or it could be a continuation pattern for the upside. But it looks fine in the short term. I don't see anything that we should be too concerned about. But bigger buying pressure, smaller selling pressure, all on that right-hand side. Lithium. Let's try to throw a, maybe it's something on the lines of this. Maybe we've got a little triangle thing going on here. There it is, like a big old flag pattern that we're about to launch to the upside. That's possible. We just got to see this play out. Maybe it's got a little bit more selling pressure to the downside, like little pressure, not a lot. What I do like about these candlesticks, though, is that it does look to me that we've got larger, let me go back to the weeklies here. Looks a little easier to see. We have larger buying pressure, and then we see this sitting. This pattern is starting to sit. And we don't want to see a big selling pressure downside move. We want to see it sit down. We want to see the buyers where the opening and closing price of the candlesticks sit, and then go into a dead period. And then we break out of the pattern to the upside. Then I'm going to be straight lit at that point. LIT, pro lit. REMX, another similar pattern to lit. This is a down kind of channel here. You could also maybe throw in, there's some support at this level here. So you could say that, it looks something on the lines like that. And we'll see where this breaks too. The pattern's a double bottom pattern on a longer term. So this is your double bottom. We've come on up, and this is generally the ideal buy point. So this looks good, and we'll see where it goes. SPX down a little bit, which is actually very surprising because they threw a bunch. The interest rates went up a lot, and this is holding together quite well. So we'll see if this continues to the upside tomorrow. If it does, hi-ho S&P. Same with NASDAQ. It's holding on, so we'll see where it goes tomorrow. We've got emerging markets holding on, just moving sideways. This is all incredibly bullish, given the dollar strength and given where interest rates went today. Very bullish. XHB also holding in there with a little bloody nose that looks like it wants to go higher, 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 higher. I know I'm saying that it wants to go higher in the face of basically everyone and their grandma on YouTube is bearish right now. And they're sure getting the views, I can say that, with all that bearishness. I just can't be bearish if the charts are telling me to be bullish, I guess. Looking at Moo. Moo is, I don't know, I wouldn't say this is bullish, but we are sitting below this, and it has come down. I do think this has a chance of coming down to that support level of about $70. And yeah, it's a little bit of a downside move. But I don't know. I mean, if the overall markets start getting jiggy with it, we could see a move higher. It's possible. Copper up 1%. Copper, I mean, way to hang in there, copper. Basically, we're seeing interest rates just throttle it to the upside. We're seeing the dollar throttle it to the upside. And copper sitting here going up 1%. This is looking good. So we're up above support. Let's hope it holds, and let's get some momentum to the upside, and let's rip it. Lumber down a little bit. This thing looks a little sick, I'll just say that. But it is heading lower, and this is potentially a leading indicator of the housing market. So if we see housing starts dip and lumber dip all at the same time, there could be a problem in the market that comes later. Iron ore down a little bit, 0.5%. I do think we're going to get to that, the circle I put in there, and then eventually work our way higher. Nickel, I was looking at some articles. We've got a nickel glut. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's possible, but it's still at very high prices and it's holding together. Aluminum up 1.12%. But for the most part, we've got a sideways McGee going on here, just going sideways. I actually traced that pretty well. Baltic Dry Index, I think this is going to go higher in the Baltic Dry Index, just because of the way it looks and the pattern. Copper's, getting more expensive. I think some of these base metals, we're going to have to start shipping this stuff around, guys. If we're going to go into this renewable electric vehicle world, we better start shipping a whole bunch more commodities to make that happen. So if a bunch more commodities are going to have to be shipped around, well, there's your capacity constraint. It's called the Baltic Dry Index, and this price should go higher with time. Newcastle coal futures getting a little bit hit today. Again, we've got a lot of momentum to the downside. I do think this is going to work its way out, and then eventually it will move higher. Why do I think it's going to move higher? Because energy is completely jacked. It's completely jacked. Yeah, we could have a recession. Yes, it could pull down lower. All possibilities. But we could also have the possibility of a warm summer and a cold winter that just completely annihilates the natural gas inventories, especially Europe's natural gas inventories. And then prices are going to rocket like you've never seen before from a very low price level. That is not a prediction. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying it is a possibility for an outcome that it could happen, and that they don't fill their inventory levels to a high enough level before winter, and or the winter is very cold and it eats through their inventories very quickly. We are now at the flow rates of liquefied natural gas, and that has an impact on the price of coal. So they're all interconnected. Ethereum down 2.7%. Okay, so we might go all the way down and do a full retest. Okay. And same with Bitcoin. We could go down to 25,000 for some imaginary coins that you can hold in an imaginary wallet of some zeros and ones. That is worth $25,000 per one full zeros and ones of Bitcoin. So we got that going on. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Doesn't look that bad. It actually looks pretty strong given the interest rates and the dollar moving higher. As weird as that is. Copper establishing itself as one of the stronger commodities. I think, crude oil wasn't looking too bad either. Actually, all of them don't look that bad. If we get some buying pressure in here, I'm going to turn bullish pretty dang quick. What would remain bearish is if we start seeing some big candlesticks to the downside. If we see big candlesticks, then yeah, in the short term, we could pull back. So that's what we're looking at this week. And next week, we'll determine where we're going on a little bit longer term basis, I think, because we're at what I would consider to be kind of a decision point. We're trying, I think that it still looks good. If we get some buying pressure in there, I'm going to remain very bullish. But if I see the big selling pressure candlesticks, if we see interest rates just launch it here, maybe there's another problem going on in the markets that we're not seeing outside that interest rates are going up. I don't know the reasoning or narrative behind it, but we'll find out what it is eventually. All right, guys, that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.